3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Okay, hello, internet world. This is Norma Joe back with some more Carly Saturn. So I don't remember where I left off last time. So I'm just gonna start from the top of the page. Paul licked his lips, that thin black beard and mustache around his mouth. Aren't you supposed to be staying in? Hey, who's the boss here? Oh, I remember reading this before. Okay, whatever, some overlap is fine. Hey, who's the boss here? Carly snapped back, hair rising on him. Don't you work for me? No answer. Well, that shut him up. But he shifted uncomfortably in his grit-soaked clothes. Ugh. He needed something from them after all. Where's Clyde and Siva? He grumbled quietly. I feel like Clyde was the name of that white trash guy in the other story. You know, that was talking about wanting to kill cops or whatever. Sherry nodded to a room across the hall, still under their watchful eye, but in clear, so much less heavily guarded. The glimpse of obscure freedom put a pang through Carly. Without speaking, Carly wandered towards it. The door was cracked open, just a tiny sliver. Who was it for? Was it for him? Somehow he heavily doubted it. Heavily. The weight bore down on him as he tried desperately in vain to shake off the morbid compulsion of curiosity, and at the same time his hand reached forward slowly, inch by inch, almost by its own will, while his thoughts were a million miles off the ground, suspended in the air, staring downwards at his independently moving body, a ghostly feeling, as if possessed. Mind and body were not supposed to be separated this way, but here they were, walking on stilts and clouds. Stepping into the room jolted his mind down off its high place for a moment, and it tumbled down back into his head. He shut the door behind himself and let it click shut. The scent of the room engulfed him, and he knew it well. That was Clyde's scent, his smell, his stench. He and Siva had showered, and the room still had the perfume of fresh shower mist, the dew of steam and hot water encircling the whole place. Yeah, I love that smell, like after you shower, and like, the bathroom smells all good, not like shit or whatever. But it was his permanent smell, and no matter how clean the room was, it remained. It was oh, okay, never mind. I guess he's saying it's not that great. It was a sour, musky smell, like skunk weed, and yet sweet. I don't think skunk weed is a real thing, or it's just slang for weed. It had a bite to it like vinegar. The scent stewed powerfully in the small room, where it had no place to escape to, but only doubled back on itself and grew. Ugh. These they took a shower. They just took a shower. And he still smells like ass? What's the deal with that shit? Carly let out a small snort of breath through his nose, and he turned, heading for the bathroom, for the shower. It was just a short walk across the room, and then, such relief, the coolness of the tile bathroom refracted back onto his skin somehow, and he tipped his head back in refreshing pleasure. And are his roommates, like, not here? They just left the door cracked open, and they, like, took off to go, like, have sex or something? In the moments, Carly had reached over and shut the door silently. The light in the bathroom went on, and on came the shower spray. He turned the water cold. Oh God, how good it felt in his hand, splashing cold ice onto his open palm. It was so hot here in this room, in this hotel, in this city, so smothering and weighty and smoldering hot. The coolness of the blue clear water seemed to just melt it all away. He stripped off his clothes, his hot, gluey shoes and sweathering socks, his gritty t-shirt and slimy pants and sticky undershorts. It's bad to turn on the shower before you shower, because then you waste water, like, while you're undressing. But if it's really cold in the room, I guess it's okay, because then the water's, like, warming up as you're undressing. And then by the time you get in the shower, it's not, like, fucking freezing, you know? So, you know. He stretched and stepped into the flow of the water, shivering instantly from the chilling impact of cold. The water carried it all away. The grime, the dirt, the beads, and runs of crystallized sweat and slime. His body stood purified under the coursing stream, and all the dirtiness pooled down around his feet, then vanished so nothing was left but clear liquid. Carly closed his eyes. He ran the water over his hair and rubbed it into his face. Freezing and pure. The water is still cold? I hope not. I hope it's warm. Finally, his skin felt soft and devoid of oil. Half sitting, half laying, Carly rested his hip, propped up by his hands on the bathroom floor. He's laying on the bathroom floor? He lay on the towel he had laid down. Okay, he's on a towel. That's fine. I mean, I've done that. Whatever. He had laid down to protect his flesh from the biting sting of cold from the freezing tiles in his damp body. Quickly he was drying. The drops of water were evaporating. If you're in a room that has air conditioning will dry you like that. He looked down at his naked body, at the dimples and pockmarks and pores of his own skin, at the grooves and curves of his wrinkled stomach and legs. Why should he be so young and have a body so unflattering? I'm sure his fans don't think that way. Clothed, he was slender and taut, but naked, the sagging skin and all the imperfections were revealed. And although they were far from obvious when he really looked, and his eyes sat hypnotized by the light of the room and the duration of his staring, he could suddenly see scars everywhere, crisscrossing his body. That's the way it goes, man. You look at yourself too much, even if you're young, you're just like, well, I was once younger, and I looked better, whatever. Like, it's just fucking criticism of the self, and just kind of shallow when you think about it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. You just shouldn't, like, there was this YouTuber who was like, you can look into the abyss, but don't stare. I think that's a good advice. Anyway, there was one, and suddenly another. It was like looking at a still field of grass, and suddenly realizing that what you thought was only innocent blades of grass are actually millions upon billions of insects crawling and creeping, covering the grass from root to tip. Holy shit. It almost made his skin crawl to see how many scars. As if his body was covered by another entity. Something he wanted to peel off. Yes, they were perfectly disguised. Disguise is nothing more than natural spectrum of discoloring in the skin. But he could see it. Only once he saw it, he couldn't stop seeing it. And what was this? On his hip, 3 tiny puncture marks. Almost like a tiny baby crescent moon. And as he looked, there were more, fanning out, spiraling out from the newest, freshest ones, gradually growing fainter and fainter, lighter and lighter, until they merged perfectly with his skin and color and vanished completely. My God, Carly lifted a hand and grazed his fingers over the tiny red spots. How long has this been going on? They're killing me. They've been killing me. He stood shakily up on his legs, suddenly feeling sore from head to toe. Naked, he swayed in place, the room spinning, and he grabbed on with one hand onto the towel bar for support. Don't do that, because the shit will fall off. Carly waited. The seconds dragged by. When he could stand on his own and his vision had leveled out, he pulled the towel in a slithering motion off of the bar and wrapped it around his body. The bathroom light went off, the bathroom door opened, and Carly crept out into the warm, musky darkness to climb onto Siva's bed and curl up beside his drummer for the night. So they were there in the room the whole time, but they didn't say hello or anything like that. But I remember there being something weird in this story, so maybe that it all explains it later. Light awoke Carly. With a jolt, his body convulsed once, and he opened his eyes sharply. Siva must have seen it too. That was the very first thought that entered brashly into Carly's mind. Where was Siva? He must be awake. He must be seeing this. But as Carly willed himself out of his petrified state, he bumped against his friend's body beside him and felt the warm, still heat. Siva was still asleep. Terror enveloped Carly and chilled him to the very spine and stomach. He looked back to the window. That was the source of light. That window. Through the Venetian blinds. Oh, though the Venetian blinds were closed, blue glow seeped in so strongly, it flooded a strip on the floor, all the way up to the bed and onto Carly's terrified face. And suddenly all his nerves spasmed at once, because across the floor, across the strip of blue light, the brightness ran a sudden large shadow which turned his fluttering heart to petrified stone. He could hardly describe what he saw. He saw it only for an instant, but it was big, it was bulky. Some strange appendages dragged it across the floor, and it resembled an ant the way it moved, but this ant would have to be canine-sized. With that, the blue light went out, plunging Carly into pitch darkness alone with that thing. "Siva!" Carly cried out loud, breathlessly, and he leapt upright in bed. In a heartbeat, he was shaking his bandmate violently, rolling him against the bed sheets by the shoulders under the luxurious blankets. "God, what?" Siva's hiss cut through the air as the younger man regained consciousness. He shot up in bed and propped himself on his elbow, squinting and blinking in Carly's general direction. He could just barely see the singer's outline, just barely illuminated against what little light there was in the room, dark upon dark. Carly listened. There was nothing now, no sound, nothing but the dull beating of his own heart. No scuffling or scratching, which only played to his anxieties that much more, to think that the thing could be anywhere, absolutely anywhere in the room, and no sound existed to give him even the slightest bit of tip as to what proximity it was to himself. What? Siva pressed, with irritation in his voice. Oh, Siva, Carly thought to himself, you beautiful little Indian. Are you gonna understand me? Siva, he whispered, there's something in here. Yeah, and I'm looking at him, answered the drummer sarcastically, though keeping his voice quiet for Clyde's sake. How'd you get in here, Carly? There's something here, an animal or something, came the whispered reply, ignoring Siva's question. I guess I'm supposed to be whispering this, but okay. Carly peered left and right around the room, but it was no use. That darkness, that absolute pitch darkness, kept everything a secret from him. He wouldn't have been able to find the beast if it had been close enough to breathe on him. Come on, Carly whispered once more. Let's get up. He pulled his towel around his body close. Let's find it. Ugh, Siva rolled over. Come on, Carly urged in a desperate whisper. Very slightly he bounced his weight on the bed, pushing it to squeak, though it refused to. It's not safe. Oh, for God's sake, Siva answered back breathlessly. He turned. He scrambled up onto his hands and knees. And Carly smiled then, even if he was the only one who knew it. He had him. He had Siva's attention at last. Asshole. What is it? I don't know. It's some kind of animal. An exasperated sigh from Siva. Where is it? Somewhere in this room, Carly whispered. I don't hear it, but it couldn't have left, unless... A sudden, quick realization stuck in his throat. Oh my God, I hope it can't go through walls. Through walls, Siva said, really? Come on, help me look. Quietly, the two slipped down off the bed, pressed their feet onto the floor, and scanned the darkness. Let's turn on the light. What about Clyde? He should know if it's something dangerous. I would want to know. I wouldn't want to sleep through it. Carly, this is stupid, Siva hissed. I want to go back to sleep. First hotel in 4 days, and you're ruining it with your ugh. The sound that suddenly shot at Siva was all shock and confusion. He jumped in place, and Carly heard the skittering of his footsteps as he danced in place like a caged pony. What the fuck? What was that? Something touched me. Oh, is it the tingler? Do you believe me now? Maybe you better turn on the light. Oh God, it was slimy and gross. Carly wasted no time. In seconds, he was across the room, holding up his towel with one hand, flicking on the light switch with the other. But as he braced his eyes for the sudden onslaught of precious light, there was the sudden creeping horror of reality. He had been anticipating light, but there was no light. No matter how he worked the light switch this way or that, nothing. The room remained as black as ever. Carly, I'm trying, came the blonde's nervous whisper. It's not working. Not working. It was working fine before. At that very moment, Carly felt a whoosh of air past his legs, and he jumped. Open the door, Siva said hurriedly to him, and hardly even whispering anymore, heedless of the volume of his voice, but not full on shouting yet. What if it gets out? I don't care, open it. Now it was Siva's turn to dash. He was at the door in a heartbeat, hands on it. No. Too late. Siva jerked the door open, pouring his weight into it as if he was terrified it might stick shut, uncooperative as the light. And they saw it. They both saw it. That dark, bulky shadow moved fast as lightning and was through the gateway of the door in split moments. Carly's shoulders collapsed. Oh man, Siva. What do we do? Go after it, Carly answered, now that the door was open. Light poured into the room. Carly looked at Clyde, still sleeping. Let's go. We can't just let it be, squeaked Siva. He stared at his bandmate in disbelief. I don't know what that thing was. What if it was a raccoon? It wasn't a raccoon, Carly said. He pulled his towel tighter around himself. He took a step forwards. Let's go. I think we can leave Clyde. And you're naked, too, Siva grumbled. You can leave me, too. Carly gave Siva a long look, as if shadow half illuminated. That was how they saw one another in this silence. At last, Carly turned and wandered out the door. Okay, see ya. He slunk from the room. The carpet was scratchy under the soles of his feet. Oh, Siva twisted himself. God damn it, he cursed. He stepped hurriedly forwards. I'm coming with you. Carly turned his head and smiled to him. You're the best. Yeah, he sighed. God damn it. Behind them, they shut the door, leaving the sleeping Clyde inside with his musky scent. With Carly pulling his towel shut around himself, the two of them crept away down the hall, turned to every sight and shadow in the lit hallway. Every tiny flicker caught their eyes and caused heads to turn, but it was nothing. Each and every time it appeared to be nothing there. What are we looking for? Siva whispered. I don't know, answered Carly, scanning the hall. Something dark and low to the ground, with weird legs. Sounds gross. It is gross, he answered. I saw it. It scurries. Ugh. Where are you going? A sudden gruff voice interrupted, making them jump in place. They both ground to a halt and looked towards the hulking, dark-haired man. Paul! God damn it! Siva cursed. Don't scare us like that. Sorry, but the cross-armed man was chuckling. Where the hell are you two guys going? None of your business, came the aggressive hiss of Carly, and his hair prickled on edge in irritation. There were times when he couldn't stand Paul or Sherry, and right now in this instant, a reminder of all those moments came back to him at once. Put some clothes on, Paul leveled back. I'm not in the mood for one of your episodes, Saturn. I should have never let you out of your room. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, came Carly's sharp answer. Don't forget who writes your paychecks. And that'd be Jean. Now Sherry chimed in. You make the money, baby, but Jean manages it. Or did you forget that part? Don't make us get physical, Paul warned darkly. Oh, God. Here's all the kink. Eyes on Carly like a wolf, stern and steady. Siva looked at Carly, looked at Paul and backed down, stepping away, but Carly didn't budge. Leave us alone, you idiots, the blonde spat. Can't you see we're hunting something? It's something dangerous. Who knows what it could do to you or anyone else in this hotel? The two bodyguards exchanged puzzled glances. Siva saw their body language change, from relaxed to ready. Sherry even inched a step forwards. Oh no, Carly, Siva said to himself. What have you done now? Come on, baby, you're not in your right mind, Sherry said warningly. He inched closer on shuffling legs as Carly matched his step inch by inch, moving backwards, moving away from him. Put on some clothes, then talk to me, huh? Drink some water, let's talk. Get away from me, Carly hissed. His knuckles were bare-bone white on his towel, clinging to it. Is Sherry gonna rip the towel off him? And they have to do some naked wrestling or something? That's what I feel like is coming on. Carly, come on, you're scaring me, came Siva's plaintive plea. But Carly was deaf to him, deaf and blind, and all his senses were concentrated on the two bodyguards. They moved slowly to him, trying to be gradual, trying to cause the smallest amount of commotion. And Carly skirted them, clinging to his tiny remains of freedom. Truly looking a naked and desperate creature with his hair on end and his shoulders up. Where's all their fans? I want all their fans, all the fucking groupies that were in the hotel, come out and, like, watch all this shit going on. Keep away, you better, I swear. Here, with a sudden grunt and a lunge, Paul grabbed for Carly. Carly, frantic, jumped away and right into the arms of Sherry. Okay, that's stupid. The tawny man gripped him tight, flipped him around harshly to keep the hold on him. I'm having flashbacks from Kink Farm. Carly's arms were pinned behind his back, and without his hands to hold his towel, the whole thing flopped down heavily into a rag around his feet. What did I tell ya? What did I tell ya? I saw that shit coming. Buck naked to the world. Yeah, okay. Let me go. Gotcha. Sherry sighed. Oh, he sighed. Gotcha. I don't know how he said that. Relieved and just a little bit sad, his strength overpowered Carly, squirming effortlessly. I feel like they could have talked for longer. But, okay. I guess this is how Jean is running things. Come on, where's your key card? Carly tugged, pulled, twisted, as Sherry held his ground. Siva cringed, backed away, tried to avert his eyes from Carly and his ears away from his bandmates. Desperate, breathless groans of effort to escape. I said, let me go. Siva looked away for one moment, but his eyes couldn't stay away, and so as if by magnetic force, his gaze returned to Carly. In the future, he would think back to that moment in which he had looked away. He would think back upon it and wonder if maybe there was something in that moment that he had missed, something that would have explained what he saw next. Carly gave a mighty, violent twist, and suddenly his wrists popped free from Sherry, and he took off like a bullet, streaking down the hall. Well, that was fucking easy. Hey! In stunned, bug-eyed shock, Sherry, Paul, and Siva all stared after him for a moment. Is this not just, like, a typical fucking, like, rock star, like, moment, like, back when rock and roll was still a thing? Like, it's like, oh yeah, this rock star got fucked up on hella drugs and went naked down the hall of a hotel. I feel like a bunch of, like, rockers have had that same story. But anyways, In stunned, bug-eyed shock, Sherry, Paul, and Siva all stared after him a moment, just in petrified disbelief, but only an instant. Then both bodyguards bolted off in chase, and Siva, not wanting to be left behind and confused above all else, pursued behind them. Alright, that's it for now. 20 minutes.